how does James Harden look in all of this? This is the second time in a year or so that he's forced his way out of an organization.
Key, I think he looks like a new age athlete. Like, I think he looks like a ring chaser. And it's funny because yesterday I actually tweeted once Woj came down with the reports that internally he was concerned about the perception. Dude, we're going to talk about it regardless. So if that's what you want to do, say it. And I guess he said it physically as opposed to verbally. I am not a teammate of his, but I, in a way, respect it because it's no cut cards. Like, it's clear what you are trying to accomplish. I just think that's where we are in today's game. And to be fair, KD went to Golden State to get it done. Kyrie wanted out of Cleveland. And so as much as this big three was supposed to be a unit, both of those guys have gone where they wanted to go. And I often wondered through this, if the trade didn't go down, what does the Brooklyn Nets locker room look like potentially on the other side of this?
I think that – go ahead, Key.
No, I was going to say, to follow up with that, though, what if it does not work in Philadelphia? What you going to do? You'll jump to another spot?
Key, here's the thing. As long as the league allows him to, yeah. You know what I mean? I think, and you know what, Key, that's a real question because as terrific as Joel Embiid has been this year, him on the floor this much is almost an outlier for him. And so if you had to think of things that could happen reasonably in the immediate future of this 76ers roster as constructed, you wonder how long Joel Embiid can maintain this level of productivity and be attractive to a guy like James Harden.
Monica, can you talk to me a little bit, take me into the weeds. How do they fit well together on the floor? Because I said this before, I think they have a chance to maybe be the best pick and roll combination the game of basketball offensively has ever seen, and that's John Stockton alone.
I mean, the pick and roll is crazy, right, Jay? But as soon as it goes down, I immediately think of the spacing that is created. And not that, Seth Curry is having a terrific year, statistically better three-point shooter than his brother, but I think the way you have to play James, both in the pick and roll and in general in terms of his ability to create far away from the basket, but also get to the paint, like, there's no room, really, to successfully double-team either one of them. That's my immediate mathematical thing. And I think the thing with Joel is he gets to the free throw line. And so not only is he scoring, but he's putting pressure on defenses. Literally, can you keep your guys on the floor trying to guard me? And so the spacing is the thing that stood out to me immediately. But then the second part of that for me, Jay, is we're talking about James Harden, the offensive juggernaut, but he's also a guy that I think currently is sitting second in the league in assists per game. And so I'm talking Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Danny Green, the rest of those guys as well. The ball is just going to have new life in terms of his basketball IQ and his court vision, and as demonstrated, his willingness to give up the rock.
Monica, I think that's a great point you made earlier about, like, first of all, it's transparent what you're doing. Who cares if you're ring shit? Just why care about the perception that, because but I want to get back to your point about how the Nets won the trade. I think that's the prevailing sentiment. But this is what I want to know from you. It seems to me the Sixers didn't really have a championship window. Not in fact with Simmons and Embiid. We just all hoped it would be early on. And then now I think they do. Mm-hmm. So they've actually opened a window to a championship. Would you agree with that assessment? Are the Sixers now a legit championship contender?
100%. But I'll be honest, and I'm the minority in this opinion, but I'm going to go ahead and say it with my chest anyway. I felt like even as constructed, with the uncertainty in the East in terms of the Nets injuries, the Bucks had been up and down. They've obviously steadied the ship as of late. Miami had some injuries. They're starting to get healthy. I was willing to entertain the idea that Philly could make something special happen as constructed, just because of the way that Joel Embiid is playing. Was that going to be a tall task? Yes, but I wasn't willing necessarily to rule it out. Now, oh yeah, and to Key's point, it almost has to work for James Harden. It doesn't in the grand scheme of things. His checks will still clear, but at the same time, come on now. You talk about a window. This window to me is tighter than what the Brooklyn Nets have potentially.
You start talking about money clearing. You must have been talking to Max recently. Monica, let's move.
All right, don't bother me none.
Yeah, Monica, let's move from the East to the West, and you know where I'm going. There's only one team out West that I even really want to discuss right now. It's the disgusting Los Angeles Lakers, so to speak. What's the story with Westbrook? What are we gonna do there? Are we gonna bring him off the bench, or we gonna just because we can't trade him now, or what are we gonna do?
Okay, you remember that time I came and hung out with you and Alan Hahn?
Yes, I
and
remember.
we had our
yes,
super
yes.
viral funeral service for playoff teams.
Yes.
I think it's time, Key, that you might need to be Deacon Key for the Russell Westbrook that we once knew as an all-star and as a top-tier contributor on this particular roster. Now, I will also say that I think some of the heat that Russ is catching now has become trendy. I think he has to become an empowered garbage guy. Like, he's going to have to defend, rebound, share the basketball, deflect the basketball, and use his energy to help the Lakers find more energy. Because I think at points this year, for as talented as they are, I have questioned the effort. And so, yeah, Russ has never been able to shoot the basketball from three at a prolific clip. I'm not sure why all this heat about the turnovers. He's almost averaged 4 turnovers, 4.5, almost his entire career. So what are we doing? He is who he is, but I think we talk about ring chasing. He understands how difficult it is to win. He's going to have to own a new role. And I think that means he probably has to come off the bench and can't play alongside LeBron as much because Russ is best when the ball is in his hands.
Why is that so difficult, though? I keep hearing everybody, and you and Jake can speak to it for me in terms of basketball, because if you're in football and you move from the second receiver to the third receiver, you kind of understand what that is. Why is it so difficult in basketball to go from the starting 5 to basically the second 5 and have your own unit for 25, 30 minutes?
You know, Key, that's sort of complicated. I think it is. Actually, it's not complicated in this case. I think Russ has just never been asked to do that. And I think for him, the other night he talks about not needing to hit any benchmarks and feeling like he's earned the right to be on the floor in the fourth quarter. And up until this point in his career, he's absolutely right.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.